everyone. My name is Julie Maribel. My topic is stress and memory loss. And the memory. And memory can be defined as the brain's ability to retain information and retrieve involuntarily. In other words, this capacity is what allows us to remember facts, ideas, sensations, relationship between concepts, and all kinds of stimuli that occur in the past. Although the hippocampus is brain structure might relate to memory, we can locate memories in a specific point of the brain. But a large number of brain areas are involved. For memory, this ability is one of the most commonly affect cognitive functions with age. For Nelly, memory can be fine-tuned, cognitive, and simulation and various types of brain games. And types of the memory. Sorry, teacher. Yes, the types of memory. And depending on how long the information remains in the system, we can say that verbal memory is responsible for retaining information with verbal content and what we read on the words we hear, and while no verbal memory is one that had less the rate of the information in masons and sessions, and depending on sensory organ and depending on that information. And what are the phase of the memory? Encoding. In this phase, we incorporate into our memory system to presentation the information, and that we later remember. For example, when we are introduced to someone and they tell his name, and we will need to pay attention to perform the encoding. And the storage in order for information to be variable, we stored in our memory system. In the previous example, we will say that we have learned and the name, and we can associate it with the face of the individual or with the other data. And recovery. And when we need past information, what we do in access the store memory and retrieve it. Following the sample, we will retrieve this person name, or when we say again the next day. How can we measure and assess the state of our memory? Measure the state of our memory is very useful. Also important repercussions in academic settings, knowing if the child going to have difficulty learn the content of the subject, or if they need some type and additional help. And in clinical settings, knowing how patients can remember what the medication and they should take, or if they can negative or environment without assistance. In where sitting, knowing if the person is going to be able to perform or a specific job. Any hour they they likes. Okay, and the importance of taking care of our memory. Our memory is great treasure that we must take care of. And if we store the experience, acquiring the course of our existence without we go live as if in an internet present without knowing who we are. And when we come from or what our projects are and we goals to living a fully human existence. Today, we know the organ specialized in the storage in the result of memory is a brain. And this is a very complex organ which we are just beginning to understand online organs of the body. It is a homogeneous structure, but arranged with such specialization and its different lobes. Memory realized circuits are located primarily in the temporal lobes, and these regions are very vulnerable to damage and can be altered for many reasons, including the genetic disease, psychosomatic problems, cardiovascular disease, nutrition disorders, trauma, drug use, and medical disease. And recommendations, and if you have any illness, follow the regular checkup, be positive, at a healthy and varied diet, maintain a good level of mental and social activity, and don't expose yourself a risky situation may involve trauma. Drive carefully, be prudent, and do not consume alcoholic variation in sex, and schedule a career side program that is not excessive, intense, but regular. And some recommendations to emphasize the functions on our memory. Associate, when you want to store new information, try to associate it with information you already have. Try to understand it and relate it. Try to learn with your teams, participate, interact with the information, as the questions, child media games, summaries, get motivated, look for the attractive side of the information, emotion, engagement, and assess the ability to learn.
Okay, my dear Julie, thank you so much. Your time is over.
Teacher.
Good for the topic. So now is the turn for the question and answer round. Okay, so Angie, your question to your classmate Julie.
Okay, Julie, how do you think stress affects memory?
Repeat, please.
Okay, how do you think stress affects memory?
Okay. I think the things affect the memory is stress or much activities or or stress enough, a lot of.
Okay, Julie, thank you so much. What about you, Laura? Do you have another question to your classmate, Julie?
Okay, teacher. Yuli, do you think it's normal at my age I had memory problems? Uh, normally I put the alarm in my cell phone because everything forget is normal.
Repeat, please. Sorry, my listening is
Don't
low.
worry. Do you think it's normal at my age to have memory problems? Is normal? Is is normal? I
Um,
have that problem, the memory. I everything forget.
I think yes. We we have problems, but we have controls because this is can complicate for the memory, and we can eat.
Okay.
Okay, my dear Julie, thank you so much. Thank you, Laura. Great question, Laura. I forget everything too. What about you, Vivian? Your question for your classmate, Julie.
Julie, how can we take care our memory?
I think we can take care doing exercise, and not stress, not not having much activities, realizing.
Okay, thank you, my dear Julie. Don't worry. What about you, my dear Lina? Your question for your classmate, Julie.
Okay, Julie, my question to you is, do you think the use of technology has affected our capacity of memory?
And yes, for example, the cell phone affect the memory when we they use a lot of um, uh, our memory is a lot of in the cell phone when we not use for things important. The memory can't stress in different activities when different moments.
Okay, my dear. Thank you so much. Oh my God. So, my dear Julie, now is the time for your feedback. So, Julie, great topic. I love your topic. It's a really interesting topic. I have to say that during the presentation, I noticed that you were reading. So it was sad, really sad for me to notice that because I couldn't grade you fluently until you start answering the questions because it was really evident that you were reading. And I confirm it with the way you answered the questions. So my dear Julie, great presentation, great use of the slides. I noticed the same thing that happened to me with Vivian, that you focus too much on reading, that you forget the intonation, the correct pronunciation, and to make the pause, okay? So please practice a lot of, Julie. You need to practice a lot of listening so that you can organize your idea properly and take your time, okay? Don't try to answer really quickly. Ask always for repetition in order to organize your ideas, okay? But it was a good presentation. Don't feel sad about that. You did a great presentation, and I'm going to help each one of you with your grades. So don't feel afraid. So my dear Julie, thank you so much for your presentation. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, teacher.